We'll call the Apopka Community Redevelopment Agency to order. Come on up, Internet. We're going to go. Yep. Okay, we've got a set of minutes. Done make any changes? Not look for a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve.
Got a motion by Member Drago, second by Member Smith. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Okay. Presentation, Retail Recruitment Strategy by Retail Strategies, LLC and Intranet Forbes.
Good afternoon, evening. Antoinette Forrest, Director of Economic Development. So previously, the city had contracted with a consultant called Retail Strategies, LLC, in the amount of $40,000 to provide retail recruitment services for a period of 1 year. During that year, they had conducted extensive data as well as provided reports. However, there was lack of communication between the consultant and the city as they did not know who to confer that information to. So part of that agreement is to provide a presentation to the council. In the July, I believe it was, CRA meeting, which predates me, there was conversation about a retail report and it being pending. So I thought it prudent to have them come and present here before the CRA board, which includes members of the council as well. So although this was funded on the city side, I did think it was imperative for the CRA board to hear. I also want to mention that their scope of work is for the city as a whole in its totality. So with that, this is Garrett Smith from Retail Strategies, and he will be providing the presentation.
Hey, good evening, everyone. And I'd like to start by thanking you so much for making the time and also the adjustments to allow me to speak with you all this evening from afar. As Intranet said, we have completed our first year of work in partnership with the city of Apopka. And just as a little breakdown, and I'm going to start providing some of this in a visual format, just as a breakdown in our process in a general year one partnership, is it starts essentially with extensive discovery and research. We are then identifying properties of interest and also working through peer markets, similar type markets, so we can have an understanding of some of the differences in regards to what retail offerings peer markets have that maybe Apopka doesn't, and then use some of those particular data points to leverage the similarities between those markets as we target some of those specific retail brands and try to draw them into Apopka when they haven't opened a location already. So as a very brief preface, that's a lot of what the first 4 to 6 months looks like. From there, we are speaking with property owners, introducing ourselves to development groups in the area, understanding what availability, what types of spaces they still have. Then we compare all this back to our initial research, identifying who our top prospects are. And then we're trying to play matchmaker. We're trying to connect brands that would like to enter into the Apopka market and maybe aren't intimately familiar with it, to property owners and developers who are actively trying to either sell or develop specific properties. So tonight I've compressed our recruitment plan. This is something that Intranet has access to the full document, which has extensive amounts of data, as well as she has access to the true raw data reports that we use to help build this out. If y'all have interest in any of that stuff, please do not hesitate to let her or myself know. We'll happily get the full versions over to you. I compress this to try to be as timely as possible and respectful of everyone's time. If it's all right, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to dig into the recruitment plan and some of the research we found, and then I'm going to provide an update on our recruitment efforts after we initiated our actual outreach. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank y'all. So again, my name is Garrett Smitherman. I'm y'all's portfolio director. My direct teammate is Mr. Drew Kaufman. He is your retail development manager. We split up our teams basically where I'm sort of the point person on the client side and Drew is the point person on the retailer and the development side. We provide some of just our additional leadership and our marketing team here just for y'all to see. This is a very small slice of our overall company. We in total, we've got over 50 employees. And we actually, one of the unique advantages we have is not only do we have a consulting firm, but under the same roof, we also have a full service brokerage. And so leveraging everyone's professional networks, everyone's experience and contacts allows us to be as effective as we can be. So as I just alluded to and briefly mentioned, the front end of our efforts and our work is to make sure that we have a good understanding of your market. So that's going to include a lot of high level research, demographic overview, identifying your custom trade area by using mobile data collections, understanding your retail gap analysis, and then also conducting a peer analysis of some peer markets. So how you see it, this is generally how most average people, consumers, consider what a city looks like from an aerial perspective. Chopped up lines, there are boundaries, highways, some landmarks and the sort. Retailers, developers, businesses see markets in a very, very different way. They see markets in a map that looks something similar to this. This is essentially identifying multiple different data points that will allow retailers to have a quick understanding of what area they may or may not want to be and what type of market they may be looking at. So what you're seeing is the yellow lines that are squiggly. Those are going to be your 5 and 10 minute drive times. Those green radius circles, those are 3 and 5 mile radiuses. Why is this on here? Well, that's what a lot of retailers, they want to know what is inside those lines as it comes to a consumer. Who are the consumers who live here? How can we have an understanding of what the static customer base of, whether it's a 3 mile radius or it's a 10-minute drive time, we want to know who is here. You also can see, and it might be hard for y'all to see, there's a number of blue and yellow dots. So they're also looking, what all does that include? That is going to be your residential population, but also your daytime population. Daytime populations are an interesting thing. Those are essentially employees who work within this geographic area. It could be stay-at-home mothers and fathers. It could be retired people. A number of different things. All of those kind of make up who your daytime population is. Certain retailers really hone in on certain. They all are looking at the same stuff, but some hone in on particular data points more than others, depending on what their product or service is. So your demographics, and this is taken from the city limits. Our research shows a pretty strong performing demographics. Your 3 mile radius, and we took these numbers from what we've identified as the city center. So on a 3 mile radius, you got 77,000 people. On a 5 mile radius, that jumps to 230,000, over a 250,000 people. A strong jump. Average home values are strong. Number of households, again, very high. Population growth. This is something else that retailers are really paying attention to. One of the major driving factors that supports whether or not a retailer who maybe doesn't think a market is quite ready yet is rooftops, new rooftops coming online. Those are major things that they look for. And obviously, depending on what type of development, what type of market, they might want to nuzzle up close to these new rooftops. And at the same time, it's very unique and specific to what each retailer is looking for. Medium household incomes, right on line with national averages. And then you can see some of the other counts. You've got your total number of employees, daytime population, and again, that would be a important data point for lunch restaurants, breakfast and lunch heavy restaurants, coffee shops. You can imagine and fill in some of the other blanks about why the daytime population is critical. There are obviously certain markets where people will be driving into a larger metro as opposed to staying sedentary within that market. And that will impact certain brands, certain types of retailers' desire to be in a particular location or another. Mobile data collection. This is a big thing. So we started this conversation looking at the actual city boundaries and the demographics of the city itself. And then we also started to looking at how a retailer might look at it. Well, retailers aren't really looking at specific cities. They are looking at trade areas, and that's where a lot of the difference is. So one of the first things we want to do is to identify the Apopka trade area. Well, how do we do that? We take some of your largest retail drivers, and then we analyze the mobile data traffic from people going to those businesses. This sounds a little creepy, but unfortunately, this is just how the world works these days. Really, what's happening is people with cell phones who have allowed apps on their phone to track their locations, uh, these systems will identify that they went to a specific location. And in this case, we're looking at your existing retailers. And then we'll basically follow that mobile phone home. And basically, where these phones, if they're consistently spending time in the same location in the evenings, generally they are then considered to be basically a standard customer. So we take your handful, 5 or 6 of your largest retail drivers, and then we look at their mobile data and we try to identify and figure out exactly where the majority of the standard customers for those retailers actually live. We then aggregate all of those different sort of layered maps to identify a single trade area. Why is this important? It's important because the retailers need to have a good understanding of exactly what your market truly looks like, what the Apopka trade area truly looks like when it comes to a consuming base, when it comes to some of those demographic points that certain retailers find as being very critical components of their decision-making process that they've built into their expansion equation. And so this is the type of area that you end up getting once you aggregate all of those different mobile data collection reports and layers from your largest retailers. So as you just saw, we were looking at Home Depot, we were looking at Publix, we were looking at Lowe's. We also would have run this, we try to run it on multiple different retail channels. So we would have run it for McDonald's as well. McDonald's, basically any food user, food and beverage user, if there's a McDonald's in the market, they want to know how that McDonald's is performing. They want to have an idea of what their sales and their traffic looks like. And that it automatically gives them a certain level of confidence in how their own store may or may not perform. So the custom trade area ends up looking a shape similar to this. We then are rerunning demographics off of that geographical area that we've identified as your custom trade area. So you can see how high the population jumps between the trade area and the actual city boundaries. This is something where retailers will then latch on this. These are people that are in the immediate area that are shopping within this geography. These are the actual numbers that the retailers would be paying attention to. You can also see that the median household income jumps. So that adds another 12,000 to about where the city boundaries was showing, up to 83,000, and a projected population for that trade area of almost 200,000 within the next 3 years. Breakdown of race. You can see it's pretty heavily split between Latino and white. You've got the Black population coming at 3%, Asian at 8%, and other at 6%. Households. This is another big thing. A lot of retailers, they want to see households that are multiple people. They like to see families. That's what the majority of these retailers are looking for, is a family-based trade area that has multiple people living in individual homes. So you can see number of households, about 70,000. Now we're moving into the gap analysis. So this is an interesting, now we're really digging into y'all's trade area in regards to existing retailers, in regards to supply and demand. So a gap analysis is really identifying how many dollars are spent inside of your trade area in comparison to how many dollars are leaving your trade area, and what specific products and services are those dollars leaving to buy. So in our analysis, the total market supply for your trade area, for the Apopka trade area, is $2.3 billion. So that is the total number of dollars captured by businesses within this area. Your total market demand is $2.6 billion. So this is identifying a gap of $235 million where there is opportunity. Those are all dollars that are being spent outside of your trade area for products and services that could be spent inside. Obviously, we're analyzing the trade area, but we are also very understanding that we are a client of the city of Apopka, so we're not looking to put anything outside of your city boundaries, but all of this data does factor into to the retailer's decisions. So you've got this $230 million opportunity gap. Well, now we want to dig in and compare, all right, what dollars are leaving for what products? And also, what is it that the city and the public has asked for in regards to new retail offerings? Are they looking for soft goods? Is it full service restaurants? Is it hotels? Is it automotive? Where are the overlaps between the gap that we've identified as well as the desires of the city and the public at large? So we start looking at a peer analysis. So this is where we are identifying peer markets that are very, very similar to Apopka when it comes to these top line data points that you can see, which are going to be your residential population, your daytime population, your median household income, as well as your total market supply. You can see that this is actually a really good peer analysis. There is a lot of very, very similar type markets based off of these data points. And it's running on a 10-minute drive time from specific locations within these markets. But as you can see, there is a very, very close similarity between these. So what do we want to do now? Now we want to see, okay, what categories of retail are the aggregate of these peers supporting more of than Apopka? And that will basically tell us, hey, here's a great opportunity. Here's an opportunity to pursue this category, this channel of retail, because it appears that that these peers can support more than what Apopka is supporting. So we then take that aggregate and we do a comparison of the current count of what you have. And I do need to denote that this is looking at national retail brands. So we want to see, all right, where are the largest gaps in categories comparing the peers to Apopka? What we found is that Apopka has 5 coffee juice retailers in comparison to the group average of 10. Full service restaurants is very out of balance. I know that we are all in agreement that is a target category for our efforts and our outreach to try to draw in more full service restaurants. But you can see that there's 4 to 14 grocery supermarkets, limited service restaurants. We've already been in conversation with multiple of those. Obviously, those are going to be a lot of your lunchtime and early after work dinner type places. A limited service is where you park, you walk in, you walk up to the counter, you then sit down, they come and serve you your food. So think of the Potbelly sandwiches and the Chipotles of the world. And then pet shops. So this is all information that is helping us get a good understanding of who the consumers within the Apopka trade area are, as well as identifying peers and gaps in certain channels. And this is really sort of like a sales funnel. We are starting very broad and we're drilling down very tight because there are thousands of national retailers. There are every product and service you could think of, and we want the information that we are identifying and researching to point towards the ask of the city, and luckily in this case it does. Everything is pointing towards yes, this all is aligning. Then we get to the fun part, which is site identification. So one of the first things that we did after our partnership, within a couple of months of our partnership starting, was myself and Drew came down to the market. We toured the market with city personnel, with city leadership, spent a couple of hours in the car driving around, got a very, very well-rounded tour. But what we're doing during this time is we are taking down all the information of available properties, currently available properties, undeveloped properties, and properties that seem ripe for redevelopment, Coming back to the office, logging all of these, identifying the ownership, identifying whoever the representative of the ownership is, make sure that we have a handle on all of the details of each individual property based off of, as it relates to the size, the price, what it's zoned for, who have they already talked to, so that we're not, double working on the same audience. And then really working towards presenting those sites to retailers that it makes sense for. Retail timeline. This is something that we provide as information and a sort of educational component. This is an example of a publicly traded retailer's real estate transaction timeline. And I'm going to walk through this quickly. Although this is something that actually takes a good bit of time to go through, and it's about trying to share the reality of what a commercial real estate deal really looks like. Investors signal from Wall Street to the corporate team, we would like to see X return this year. Well, how do retailers do that? It's very hard to do that by increasing same-store sales. So what do? They expand. They open new locations. They identify a new market with new consumers where they can capture new dollars. So that real estate director turns around and contacts all of their local tenant reps all around the country and says, hey, we need to do 50 new locations this year. Start sending them my way. Start identifying potential sites. Those local tenant reps who are assigned a particular geography, it may be the central band of Florida. It could be the entire state of Alabama. It could be just the coast of Georgia. It could be a number of different things, regions. They then start trying to identify sites in different markets. Once those sites are identified, that tenant rep then has to turn around and present those sites to the real estate director. That could be up to a year's worth of work just to start getting through that process. If the real estate director likes the site, likes the market, they then will start going through pro forma. If everything is still lining up and everything still looks good, they then would potentially move to a letter of intent, an LOI, where they would submit that to the property owner to really start the conversations of getting a transaction going, making a formal offer. At that point, the real estate committee still has to approve that they like the site, they like the market, and that the numbers look good. So that's before an offer is even made. Then they're making the offer, they're negotiating the offer. If that still all goes well, they actually get to the point of either leasing the property, leasing the ground, buying the ground, and then they're working with a developer to build out the actual building, retrofit an existing building. And then finally, if nothing goes wrong in the middle of all that, they open and actually start serving customers. So as you can see, there are a lot of hands involved. There are a lot of decisions to be made. And this is happening continually all around the country. And so that's another one of the big things is we are competing with basically every other market, particularly with the highly sought after retail brands. And so making sure that we are speaking the same language as the retailers, making sure that we are really making their job as easy as possible. That is a lot of the value that we bring to the table is we speak their language. We have relationships on the ground in the market, not only with local property owners, local developers, and regional developers, but as well as having relationships with the city. And so we can sort of wrangle all of these components together and go to the retailer and try to hand everything over on a silver platter and say, here's this site, it's perfect for y'all. Here's all of the research on the market. Here's the price. Here's the listing agent. What else do you need? And go from there. All right, so once we start doing all of that and we've done all of our research, we've identified sites, now it's time to advance. Now it's time to take all the information that we've learned and to start conducting proactive outreach to target brands, presenting specific sites, and really the first step is to get some initial feedback. What do you think about the market? What do you think about this site? Is this in line? Do you like the market, but you prefer a different type site? Really, that's when a lot of the real work starts. And that's the process and that's the space that we're in right now is proactive outreach. But advancing forward, continuing to leverage the discovery that we've conducted, the contacts and connections and relationships that we've built over the first year to really try to connect the parties on the ground in Apopka with these national retail brands that we are targeting. So that is a compressed version of our recruitment plan. There are a lot of specifics that have been left out of this. The uncompressed version will include a number of other things. So if y'all have interest in that, please don't hesitate to let me and Intranet know. From here, if there's not any questions, I'd love to pause for a second because I know I've been going for a minute here. I'm going to pivot over to our recruitment update. So this would be the last 5 or 6 months or so of actual conversations we're having, interest we've garnered, and just some of the other tools and information we've been using.
All right. Any questions? Member Drago.
In the report we received, you indicated that there was a broker interested in some property on Rock Springs Road. Do you know exactly where that was?
I do. It's, and I've actually got that pulled up on my map. Give me just 1 second here. Let me get through this slideshow. So there's a site being worked, and it is being worked. It's north of the Publix on the west side of Rock Springs, and there's a car wash going on the back, as well as, let me get to the right place, I believe a Dunkin' Donuts. And so the Public Center is right here. It's this site right here.
When you were riding around, did you look at the old Albertsons grocery site?
I do know that the mayor did drive me by that. Yes, sir.
Okay. Of the rest of the items that are listed here, the ice cream cake, soft serve, steakhouses, are any of those businesses interested in the CRA locations?
The CRE locations.
Locations in the CRA.
Oh, in the CRA locations. To be honest, I'm not sure that that I've seen exactly where the boundaries of the CRA are. I would love to have access to that if that's something that that y'all can provide me or put in the chat of our meeting here.
Okay. In your experience, when some of these people come in and they want to locate their businesses, is it property that they want to purchase and demolish and put up a new building, or are they looking for existing sites to renovate?
You know, it really depends on the brand. Certain brands only want to ground lease, do build to suits and ground lease. Other brands want to buy. A great example right now, Chick-fil-A has made a shift after a long time of doing ground leasing. They've made a shift in the last year or so that they're looking to purchase, they're looking to own. And so it just kind of depends. Now, I think a great example of what we're seeing for the full service restaurant sector is because the build outs on full service restaurants are so expensive still. We're seeing a lot of them look for backfill opportunities because they can enter a market, they can retrofit, dress up the outside of the building, the inside. If it's already got a kitchen, it's got a grease trap, it's got vents and hoods and all those kind of things. They can really save a lot of money on the front end, and then can be a lot closer to turning a profit in a much more efficient time frame than if they were buying the land or leasing the land and having to do a multi-million-dollar build out. A lot of those builds are minimum $3 million. And so we have seen a lot of backfill because, again, I mean, in a time where basically everything's expensive, it's hard to get these deals done. And one of the other trends that we're seeing is that a lot of property owners have potentially elevated concepts of the value of their property. What we see a lot of the time is property owners pricing their properties at the price it would be that a developer would sell it once they've already developed the site. And so it's like they're valuing the property where it would be once someone else spends millions of dollars to build it, as opposed to this is what it's worth right here and now with what's there. So trying to work through and identify and sort of balance out all these different factors is certainly part of the challenge. It's part of the fun. There's a lot of education and communication, via communication that goes on, and trying to sort of facilitate deeper understandings of why certain developers might be at certain prices. I think a lot of people have a misconception of exactly how commercial and retail development really works. So to answer your question, yes and no. We kind of see it both ways. We've seen different brands do different things. We've seen a lot of surprising things. I mean, I went my entire life until earlier this year never seeing a standalone Hungry Howie's pizza. I've seen multiple this year. And it's just, hey, there's opportunity. The price is right for us to rent this space. Yeah, we'll do this all day. So it's hard to say one way or the other, but I would say that I've seen a little bit of everything.
Okay, under your gap analysis, you use the word leakage. So do you evaluate the leakage effect relative to one business being in one part of the city and an identical business being in a different part of the business of the city?
Well, and really it's the leakage is those dollars that are leaving the trade area and buying elsewhere. And so again, we're using all of that to what our main goal is in conjunction with our partners, what we're really trying to accomplish. Of course, we want to bring in the businesses and the types of brands and products and offerings that y'all would like to see added. A lot of what we're hoping to accomplish is to provide and create new jobs through our efforts, and also create a stronger tax basis for y'all to pursue additional projects, additional developments, improvements, whatever that may be. And so trying to wrangle those dollars and not have the dollars leaving your market to go be spent at your neighbor's market, but really reverse that trend and try to capture your neighbor's dollars. That's what we're hoping to accomplish. So the leakage is looking at just full dollars. And then we're going in and doing an analysis of individual product lines. If you dig into that leakage report, that's really what's on sort of in the meat of it, is individual types of products and services, and whether or not there is a surplus or a shortage of those products. Then we're then taking that to say, okay, how does this align with target brands that we think are good prospects? Find those overlaps and then pursue.
Okay, and the last question I had was, when you get to your advanced stage, from your past experience, and you take a company that has a real estate portion of it, and you drive them up and down corridors. Have you had the experience where one of those companies would say the corridor doesn't look appealing to my company?
Um, from the retailer, or excuse me, from the real estate side, no. We certainly would hear retailers say, you know what, there's nothing wrong with that site, but we prefer to be closer to a stronger retail base. And so, just as an example, there might be, and I'm going to zoom in on my map here. We might talk to certain brands that they like the synergy of the multiple different offerings right here at the Home Depot development. And as you can see, there's multiple out parcels here. The first watch went in right here to the southeast. You got Chili's, similar to across the street. There's a lot of retail synergy there. So certain brands might lean that direction, and realistically, the majority of brands are not going to opt for a B or B minus rated site if they're set on an A rated site. And the last thing they want is to invest heavily in a site that they're not really, really, really confident in, and doesn't sort of meet their equation for their bread and butter to elevate that level of confidence to say, we're checking off the accessibility box. We're checking off the pricing box in regards to what this is going to cost. We're checking off the visibility box. Visibility is huge. We are checking off they'll go down their checklist. And if it's not checking off every single one, they'll just wait to try to find a site that does. They would rather wait to make sure that their confidence level is as high as it can be, as opposed to move on something that it's like, well, we're sort of checking half the boxes here. So different retailers, different brands, they'll have eyes on different areas of the market. So I think one of the interesting things is you've got, and you also, again, I think this is a great example. I'm glad you asked this question. So you've got a couple of new developments coming online down here by your hospital. You've got this new Publix development going right here, as well as this mixed professional development. I believe these are going to be professional offices as well as some retail space on the frontage right here, done by two different developers. The draw in regards to the retailers for spaces like this, I think, is very different. It's not going to be your necessarily your places that have to have the best visibility. It's going to be more in line with the tenants that are on the back, some of those professional tenants. So when it comes to restaurants, I would think of elevated lunch offerings, maybe some of the healthier options that are coming online more frequently nowadays as people have become much more health conscious, especially when you're right here adjacent to a hospital where clearly you have a lot of health-minded folks. They want to serve. I mean, those are going to be the types of brands that want to serve sort of that professional sector when it comes to the daytime employees. You've got certain brands that they just want to follow Publix around. So there's a lot of variety. Then you might have your quick service restaurants that they are heavily just wanting the best visibility, the highest traffic counts, and that's all they care about. If it's accessible, they have high visibility and 50,000 cars driving by their door every day, that's the site they want. And so it really is just driven by the retailer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions?
I got a couple questions.
Sure.
Mr. Smitherman, thank you so much for your presentation. And if I can, and this is member Nesta, if I can get an uncompressed version of this presentation, I think that'd be very valuable. A lot of good information built into this, and it definitely explains kind of, like you said, 30,000 foot view down to kind of that more ground level view of what the goals are here. What are some metrics that we can be tracking or changing or impacting that would make us more attractive as a community, and if you can, specifically to the CRA, give us some tips on that as well.
I think one of the main things that cities can do is a lot of internal processes. When you hear people talk about, business-centric city leadership and we want to grow and we want to do all these things to attract new businesses and to make life easy for everybody here, and to really elevate our city through recruiting and attracting new brands, new businesses, whether retail, whether industrial, whether professional, no matter what it is. A lot of the internal components in City Hall are some of the things that can make a huge difference. When it comes to, I would say, specifically developers, it is a massive component. Having internal systems built out that are as efficient as possible. We see a lot of developers get frustrated to where inside City Hall, maybe the left hand doesn't know what the right foot is doing and vice versa, as it relates to some components of permitting and zoning, and it might get way down the line and somebody figures out they need a variance that's not there. Having as much flexibility in that space, but also, keeping your structure streamlined, but also just being able to quickly, have little flex spots if necessary, can make a huge difference. And when we all know that people talk. When people talk and they could share their experience, say, yeah, I did X, Y, Z in Apopka, I did this development in Apopka, and working with the city was a breeze. Like, they were on top of it. They had all of their internal systems for their processes when it comes to approvals, when it comes to permitting, when it comes to occupancy, all these kind of things. They just really had it knocked down and knocked out. I would never hesitate to do a development there again. And I share that as a real life example. We've had other clients in the past and other developers tell us that we were asking, hey, how can we help you? You know, where are your sticking points? And we've had a developer tell us to our face that the only thing we can help him with is to give him a time machine so that he never actually bought this property he was developing in this other city and had never stepped foot in that city ever, and to reverse time because they just made his life so hard. This was a specific example. Was he was doing a development where there was an arrangement with the city where the city was going to build out the utilities for the site. He was the agreement was signed. This was months later. He was already building the site, and they sent him this aggressive letter basically saying that he had to pay $100,000 to have the utilities built out. And this was after the fact, without communicating. Someone just sent him this letter. Well, long story short, I mean, that's his profit margin. You know, I mean, this is a guy who has spent hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to buy a property. He's then spending millions of additional dollars to build this property while having to negotiate the leases with the specific tenants that are then going to be leasing those properties. He's not making any money until after all of that has occurred and he sells that entire property to an investment group that's going to hold it in manage it so that he can move on to his next project. And the result was that, I mean, he just, that was what he shared with us. And it was an eye-opening thing for someone to hear and to mean it. You know, I wish that you could turn back time to where I never came here. It was a shocking thing to hear. And so I use that as a great example to say that the more efficient and streamlined and, you know, structured, but not to a fault, internal systems you can have, the better. I think that really is the best place to start for the board, for the city. I think that is something that really makes a difference, and I do think that people talk. People talk good and bad, and I think that's something that will certainly help. And I think that's a great thing to start. And I think that's one of the areas where y'all have the most control. And so I think that's why it's such a critical component.
Gotcha. No, well, thank you for that, and I think that's very helpful. It's something we can control and make quick changes to now to make sure that we're as efficient and as attractive as possible to potential retailers. I think what our priority, I would think, is to backfill or kind of infill empty spaces that we have right now. Any dark spaces, kind of making those the priority, finding matches with landlords that, again, already have established space that's already built out, and then obviously finding a tenant to fill that. I think that's kind of our priority there. And then with that in mind, what kind of incentives can the city provide getting these infill projects? Because again, not some people want that gray shell, they want it completely built out. And then again, I know on the presentation that was part of the packet that TI is part of the game again. And so that obviously, how do we incentivize the landlord to provide as much TI to the tenant as possible to, again, get these spaces filled and get our residents happy?
Absolutely. I think that's a great question. Incentives are an interesting thing. We generally do everything we can to not lead with incentives in our outreach or anything like that. Now, obviously, to be competitive for any kind of not even necessarily a mid-level scale project, it's just the way that everything is moved. To be competitive, that's something where, particularly for any sort of large scale project, is going to be a component. So with that said, I think, you know, one of the major things and one of the biggest objections that I get from retailers when I'm presenting available vacancies within shopping centers, a lot of the time has to do with some of just the particular face level characteristics of that center. Does the center does it just need a facelift all around? Does it need a little pruning and dressing up of the landscaping? Does it need full-blown facade? Does it need all new paint? Does it need the parking lot to be redone? Those are major components that retailers consider in regards to, hey, this space, it fits our needs, but what's immediately around it does not. And so it's like, okay, so how do I then communicate with the management of that, of that property, who then has to communicate with the ownership? What is their current position on the property? Is it turning a profit? Do they have a large cash reserve for these types of things? Do they need a certain caliber of tenant, and particularly whether it's a new anchor tenant? Obviously, those are going to be the ones that have the most leverage in these types of conversations, as opposed to the 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 square foot inline space that's a nail salon, as opposed to a much larger tenant that may be 30, 40, 60,000 square feet. And so having an understanding of what the capability and flexibilities of the ownership are, I think that drives to my answer to your question of, for those types of spaces, I would be thinking about those types of things. What does the rest of the center look like? Does it need new parking? Just does the parking lot need to be resealed, restriped? Are there any sort of facade grants as it relates to opportunities with particular caliber retailers? Obviously from the city side, I wouldn't think that you could just necessarily just offer up just cash for property owners to do this, that, and the other. But I wonder if you don't start thinking about for specific shopping centers, and maybe this is just where you start sort of doing some discovery on this. Shopping centers that were built in after or before a certain date, and maybe if it's relating to, y'all can provide X incentive for a facade grant if they're 100% leased, 100% occupied, or maybe if they can get it to 85 or 90% occupied, the city will provide X for landscaping or for facades, something like that. I wonder if that might be a good way. That obviously would create a certain level of investment from the city's side, to where, hey, we want to see our property owners do well. We want to see the cities at our properties do well. This helps everyone. This will, again, people will want to work there more. People will want to go shop at these places more. I think we all know that everybody wants stuff to be as nice as it can be. And at the same time, it all has to be in balance. But I wonder if that's not a good place to start and try to get an idea and do some research about what those figures could be. Just have an understanding of all right, what's it cost to do a parking lot, to reseal and restripe a parking lot for, however many square feet? What would it cost to paint, 100,000 square foot, the front of a 100,000 square foot shopping center that has, 20 foot high facade? Trying to get an idea about what that looks like. And then you can take that and say, okay, where do we have flexibility? What would be our threshold, both for the property owner in regards to, just trying to, you don't want to just hand it all over. Obviously, you want it to be incentive. You do X, we do Y. And so I wonder if that's not a good place to start considering where your options are, specifically for those type of spaces that you reference, vacancies within centers.
Awesome. Well, that's very helpful. Your answers are very detailed, so I appreciate that. Those are all the questions I have for now.
Excuse my wordiness.
We leave with that. Okay, Commissioner or Member Smith.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. Some valuable information. A lot of our residents have asked about full service restaurants, and the feedback that I've been getting is that we don't have enough rooftops to support a lunch crowd. Are you finding that in the research that you're doing?
I wouldn't say necessarily specifically that, and y'all still got a lot of rooftops coming on board. So if that is an objection that certain brands are sharing, I feel like it will only last so long. A lot of what drives things in our world is timing. So how much pressure is a property owner under to sell, and how is that going to impact what price they're going to need or want for their property? What is the current situation for that brand? I think we've all watched the news, and if you keep up with the markets and certain brands, lunch spot, a great example, Chipotle. I think widely considered an attractive brand. Some people are crazy about it. Some people, it's just another lunch spot. Chipotle's lost 45% of their market value in the last 10 months. They're still expanding, but hey, at a certain point, we can't just keep expanding and keep just getting crushed. Our value is being crushed on the market. And so I think there's just different variables for different brands. I don't think there's a way to just cut and slice a single sort of objection. In my opinion, it's less about rooftops in as it relates to full service restaurants. I think it's more about the challenge of determining just that confidence level. Some of the slowest to move sectors, probably the slowest to move sector aside from grocery, in the last couple of years that we've seen are the full service restaurants. Everybody we know, they want, a Texas Roadhouse, they want a Longhorn, they want one of those great national steakhouses, whichever one it may be, take your pick. But those are the ones that we're actually seeing move the slowest. Now, I do know that, and I haven't been privy to the conversations because they were already connected. I do know that a property owner in Apopka with a great location, a great site, was in negotiation with a Darden, one of the Darden brands. And y'all, I believe y'all have access to this report as well, and we can certainly provide the unredacted versions, the fully confidential versions of those as well. I know that those conversations were already occurring. Now, I wasn't privy to what the numbers were, but we believe that the brand, under the Darden umbrella, the brand that was being discussed with is one of those target type full service restaurants. But again, it really boils down to the numbers, and really more than the rooftops. It's more the numbers on the ground. What is it going to cost to build this, and what is our land basis? What is our build out cost? And how quickly do we think we're going to be turning a profit here? And are we doing this directly through corporate, or are we doing this through a developer? Because obviously, if you're doing it through a developer, there's different numbers to run, because the developer will be buying and building, then leasing. And so it's a different calculation. So, I think that most of the objections are not market specific. The majority of the objections we've gotten are site specific. It's just like, no, that's not a site that we want. Keep sending us some more, which is not uncommon. And it goes back to what I was mentioning, that if they're not dead set on the site, then they're probably not going to move forward on it. And it could be that there's been plenty of these target brands that we all would like to see in Apopka, and we think that Apopka not only would like to have, but would very, very strongly support. It could be that they've attempted to work deals and have been for years, quietly behind the scenes. It's one of those things where there's a lot of hushed lips once negotiations start. If a retailer is looking at a particular site and it's a great site, they might tell you that they are not interested in it, and that they're, hey, look over here. We don't care about that. Really, they're looking right here. They don't want anyone to know. They don't want their competitor to come in and snake that deal, or just ruin the deal for them. And so it is an interesting, environment when these conversations start, because depending on who the property owner is, if they catch wind of who the buyer is, that could kill a deal. And so someone could have a site that's perfect for a full service restaurant that they have it priced at, let's call it $750,000. That's, hey, we've owned this property. It got passed down to us through other family members. We haven't spent a dime on it. We just own it, and we can sell it. We'll see if somebody wants it for $750,000. Oh yeah. Hey, I'm a representative of a client who's interested in your property for $750,000. We'd like to do a deal. Well, a week before the deal closes, that property owner, if they find out that, oh, I'm actually the tenant rep for Chick-fil-A, and Chick-fil-A is going to build on that site. Well, how much does an average Chick-fil-A make in a year? Well, an average Chick-fil-A makes $8 million, does $8 million in sales on an annual basis. Well, that's $750,000 site. Well, it's Chick-fil-A. They make $8 million a year at each location. Well, now I want 1.5 for my property. Well, at that point, the deal's done. It's just a dead deal at that point. So it could be that a lot of those brands, because again, these were brands that I was surprised when I got to the market and started doing our research that more of them aren't there. I think there are new opportunities coming online for more of these brands. There's existing great sites that y'all are already familiar with close to downtown. But I think there's other great opportunities for a lot of these type brands. I think as additional rooftops come online up around Kelly Park Road, I think as additional opportunities are generated, there was going to be a great opportunity sort of near I believe, access to the airport on Orange Blossom. I think that development kind of fell through. But to be honest, to answer your question, I think it's very hard to know. We have not explicitly heard that objection.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Member Velasquez?
Wow, that was a long explanation. You kind of lost me. But let me ask you one question. When was the last time you took a tour of Apopka?
The last time I was in the city, we actually cruised through while that would have been this summer. We were in Orlando for one of the trade shows that we attend on y'all's behalf to represent. And while we were in the area, of course, we came and cruised the market just to double check on some sites that we had eyes on and been sharing with people, and just to sort of see what had changed. But the formal tour that I took with the mayor, that would have been back in December, if I remember correctly. And we generally want to come to the market at bare minimum once a year. Come down, spend time with you all, spend time with local stakeholders, as well as do just another good drive around, make sure that what we're seeing from afar on the computer screens aligns with what's happening on the ground. As great as the satellite imagery is, it's not fully 100% up to date. So there's always slight differences that we see. But yes, ma'am. The last time I would have driven through and toured Apopka would have been probably, I think, in July.
Okay. So now, when I travel downtown to Orlando, like I travel a lot to the hospitals, I find that a lot of retailers and kind of small restaurants and that they seem to kind of go around where hospitals are at, especially like here in Apopka, we seem to be, we have Advent Health, we have all these urgent cares. Are they looking in that area? Is there a particular area in Apopka that the retailers uh, or the, and that you are representing are kind of interested in?
You know, we're actually getting interest from different retailers for different parts of the city. So you're absolutely right. These developments coming online near the hospital. You've got one right here to the northeast. I believe that this section will end up getting developed as well. Due east of the hospital, you've got the Publix development coming in just south of there. There are going to be multiple out parcels out here on the frontage, as well as this development just south of the Publix development. That's all just that far western, sort of southwestern corner of the city. I know that obviously there's additional apartment developments that are going on in the area, so there's a lot going on right there. You then have East Main and East Morion downtown, obviously heavily developed as it is as you move along Main and 441, with different retailers in different areas, different offerings. And so and you can see there's sort of a variety. Obviously the addition of Miller's Ale House downtown, great site for them. Once the Apopka City Center sites get moving, if they can get past the negotiation phase, I think that will be a great success. Those are great sites, great locations. We have provided the out parcel at the Winn-Dixie Center. We have provided that OP to a number of different retailers. And I'm glad I actually just brought that up because it's a great example. One of the challenges is, even if I'll use this as an example, let's say there's a full service restaurant and they want to go in that out parcel right there at the Winn-Dixie. They can't. They're not allowed to. So we are constrained by the limitations on certain pieces of property by the existing tenants at that property. Long story short, Winn-Dixie is not going to let another food user come and build in their parking lot and then start selling a bunch of food. So and the reason why is they have restrictions within their lease. So when they leased that property from the owner, they said, you are not to lease anything within this property to anybody selling XYZ product or service, period. And so we're limited on who we can send that to. And so there's situations like that arise where a retailer, they might get hung up on a site and say, well, I'm sorry, you're restricted from the anchor. I think that's a great example. I'm glad that you asked that question, because that's just another one of the difficulties that makes brands actually emerging into a new market so challenging. It's like, hey, here's blank land at a great spot. I want it. I've got the money, but they won't let me. So there's all sorts of different challenges. But again, back to your question, yes, you've got multiple different corridors. You've got your Rock Springs corridor. You've got, this is a great little location right here. You've got multiple centers, Publix anchor, near another hospital, near another school, a great traffic counts, vehicles per day counts. You've got your downtown corridor, which is, in my opinion, a little unique for a lot of downtowns. You've got a Miller's, you've got some Nationals here, and it's an interesting, unique type corridor. Moving on up this way towards Kelly Park, you've got, again, another Publix anchored center with out parcels that are going to be available. You've got development going on Kelly Park Road. When Wild Oak starts to get fully built out, that will draw in additional retail. You've got this area around the recreation and the sports complex. I know that there's sites right around here in this section that we were very interested in to try to potentially place a hotel, particularly in this little section right here. We had talked about a potential hotel, sports bar, something that all aligns with the size and scale of your recreational complex, and to allow the recruitment of off-season sports tournaments, whether it's soccer, whether it's baseball, football, whatever it may be, as well as with the amphitheater that y'all have right there, to provide some of those other amenities right there on location for, whether you're capturing people for a week, for a tournament, for a weekend, for a tournament. They don't have to, get up early in the morning and drive across town or do anything like that. Everything will be right there. There'll be a dessert place for after the games. There'll be a full service restaurant if it's day games, and then they want to watch a game at night over some dinner. So there's a number of different corridors that you have, and we're trying to make sure that we are sharing every site that makes sense for the particular brand. So it's, do they want standalone? Will they go in a shopping center? If so, will they only do an end cap, or will they do an inline space? What's the square footage? What's the parking requirements? How many parking spaces do they require? There's a lot to sort of keep organized, and at the same time, the way I see Apopka is there's a lot of different areas to focus on, but all with some great, attractive, sort of magnetic type existing components. So again, back to where this started, the hospital area. I think that's a great opportunity. Obviously, there's been recent residential development that, as soon as that was done, you saw the commercial development come in right behind it. And so I know that someone else had asked a question about the rooftops. I think for specific type developments, again, Publix, they saw this dense residential development coming in. Perfect. We're going to put one of our grocery stores right next to it. And then obviously all of the other brands that will be leasing adjacent spaces within the larger center, as well as these out parcels, will be looking at similar type parameters. And obviously would be a multitude of different things. It could be certain food and beverage that's not restricted by Publix. Publix generally restricts sandwiches and like chicken. So everybody loves their fried chicken and their subs, the pub subs. So they'll generally restrict those two specific sort of food offerings. But that leaves a million different brands that could potentially go into those out parcels. So again, I know it's another long-winded answer. Apologies for that. If you can't tell, we really like this stuff
Yes, it is.
and talk
But I
about it all
appreciate it,
day.
and
All right,
I'll
thank
tell
you.
you what, I'm not going to ask any more questions.
Well, and I'm
Anderson's
sorry
good.
if I've
Okay.
talked you out of any more questions
All
to
right,
follow up.
member Drago, you got one?
All right, I have one more question.
Wow.
Keeping what member Nestor asked you, specifically in your experience, what development regulations become an impediment to developers to either build a new building or renovate a building?
Development impediments, um,
Make it short.
restrictions.
In less than 10 words.
In less than 10 words.
For
I'm not
instance,
sure I could point to one specifically.
well, for instance, do setbacks cause a problem? Do parking requirements cause a problem? Impervious surface ratios, does that cause a problem? From a development standpoint and the costs associated with those regulations, some developers would say it's too cost prohibitive. I'm not developing in this city. So, from your experience, can you tell us what specific regulations become an impediment?
I'm not sure I can, to be honest. I'm not sure that I could point towards specific because realistically, we kind of hear about everything in the variety of different things that have caused some hangups and get frustrated. Obviously, we're wanting to make sure that we're sort of pushing and driving forward. And so when some of the parties we're trying to assist get frustrated, it's one of those things where I try not to have my attention get hung up on that. And luckily, more often than not, a lot of those groups are highly experienced um, and very well rounded. So I'm just not sure I could point towards one. Setbacks, parking is obviously a big thing. I mean, the reality is that if the site's big enough for their site plan to work and the way CAD works and they can sit here and just readjust their site plan to make sure that what they're trying to do does fit on the property and within the bounds, as long as they have access to what any and all of those codes are when it comes to setbacks, when it comes to parking obligations, as long as that's easily accessible. I think that's one of the great benefits that y'all can provide is to make that stuff as readily available and easy to digest as possible. And obviously, those groups, I mean, they have people that's all they do is sit there and make sure that they have an understanding of that to avoid delays and to avoid hiccups because the delays really do cost them money. And when you're the developer and you're eventually going to try to sell out, any delay is eating directly into your profit margin. So I would almost say similar to the internal systems and processes and making sure that y'all are confident and have a great sort of as streamlined, structured yet streamlined process internally. I think this is a key component of that process is making sure that any and all of that information is readily available, and easily digestible and can just be tapped into so that they can just have all that right in front of them from the word go.
All right. Thank you, Garrett. We appreciate all your information. Appreciate you jumping on with us. All right.
Thank
Next
you
up,
all.
intranet.
Thank y'all so much for
You
having me.
betcha.
I'm sorry that I talk the way I do, so I'm going to leave y'all to it. If y'all have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out and let me know. I believe y'all have my cell as well as my email, so don't hesitate to let me know. And thank y'all so much for the
Thank you,
time,
Garrett.
and I look
Appreciate
forward
it.
to getting to see y'all and shake your hands soon.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great evening.
You
All
bet.
right.
All righty.
He
So,
made it easy for you because we're going to be like, okay.
yes.
I do
So,
have one question, quick one on that one. Are we their contract? Is that paid out of CRA funds?
it is not paid
No.
out of CRA funds.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm on that because we probably shouldn't have had that on this meeting then, on a CRA meeting, but it is valuable, obviously, because that I was hoping we weren't paying out of CRA funds because we almost talked nothing about CRA.
Correct. It was
Okay.
not paid out of CRA funds. And in the intro, I talked about that at the July CRA meeting, there was a reference by the board about a retail report being done. So because it was made at a CRA meeting, I thought it'd be prudent to just have it presented
Gotcha.
at the CRA meeting.
Understood.
During his presentation, I also sent him the CRA map for his information.
Good.
And we have a follow-up call scheduled as well to talk about possible incentives. I also want to mention that the presentation they did was part of their previous contract. Since then, we have issued a PO to them, I think late last week, to reignite the ongoing services. So this would be the second year. So when he showed the year 1, 2, 3, this would now be entering into the second year, not paid out of CRA.
Understood. Thank you.
Up next would be an update on the CRA assistance program. So originally, the last CRA meeting, not only did the budget was adopted, but also changes to rewrap the residential renovation assistance program. I wanted to provide you not only an update on that program, but all of our assistance programs. Just because as I get a little more familiarity with the CRA and our programming, it was important to review where we are and the ones that need to possibly be modified. So under the facade renovation assistance program, to date, we have issued $219,406. And when I say to date, that's the inception of CRA. That's how much we have expended. This year, it's been $53,512. These are exterior improvements that are made to commercial properties. The BCAP, the Building Code Assistance Program, which is for commercial properties that are tied to fixing items that are code incompliant. We have not issued any funding this year, and to date we have done $103,862. The building permit refund assistance program, no money has been issued to date, and overall it's only been $480, and that is permit fee reimbursement. Under the BIFAP, which is the Business Impact Assistance Program, which pays the impact fees for new and expanding businesses up to 50%, maximum of $5,000. We've paid to date $5,000 and none this year. The Residential Impact Fee Assistance Program, which reimburses impact fees for single new homes, we have not paid any this year, and to date, $314,847. REWRAP, which is the Residential Renovation Assistance Program, that is the program that the board has recently updated that provides up to $30,000 for exterior improvements to homes. This I need to update you because we have gotten such an influx of people participating that this number is actually no longer correct. So we have to date, it was only about 1,000 we had given out in this program, but since then we have awarded a little over $460,000. That is the line item budget you have for $900,000. And before I move on, really quickly. So this is an example of a participant in the REWRAP program. They got their roof replaced as well as they're doing the window replacement. The roof has actually been completed as of October 22nd. They were awarded $24,073.21. Just so you know, a lot of the grants are not necessarily for $30,000. It's for the exact amount of the proposal of which they have requested. So that's why you see a very specific number. I actually have two residents that are participating in the program in different stages that have requested to speak on it if it's at the pleasure of the board.
Sure.
So,
Yes.
Mr. Williams or Mr. Williams?
Come on, you need to come down to the mic, please, sir.
How y'all doing? My name is Tim Williams. I stay on 828 Georgia Avenue. I saw the signs as I was, driving through the city, and And I'm saying, okay, let's check this program out and see what's going on. Um, and as I got into it and saw what you can, help with making the place look better, because I moved here, 2 years ago from, I came from Fort Lauderdale, but then I moved up here and then I brought a house in Apopka 2 years ago. So, and of course, a lot of houses in this particular area is not, the greatest. So for you guys to be doing this program to actually help, get everything looking good and looking better, I appreciate that, very much. Speaking with Antoinette, she made the process very easy, and held my hand the whole way, letting me know what's going on. I come down to the city, the lady at the front desk, she makes sure, you get everything going. So really appreciate you guys and just want to say, thank you for doing what you're doing. Anytime you want to give a little more, 50,000, 100,000.
Thanks for coming
Appreciate
out
it.
tonight. We appreciate that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay. So I also wanted to continue updating you on the programming because there has been some updates to the statute. So each year, as I'm sure you're familiar, almost every other year, it feels like there are being more restrictions placed on the CRA and how we can expend the funds. And that is in direct correlation to some of the financial assistance programs we had in place. So for example, the impact fees, the permit fees, those are no longer allowable under using TIF funds. So, because of that, and we talk about that here, that the intent is basically to directly fund public improvements and eliminate blight and not necessarily offset developer costs. So, the changes, the intent of the changes is obviously to increase transparency and oversight and also offer measurable public benefit. And so impact fees are considered developer obligations and intended to mitigate projects related to impact, not public costs. That being said, there are three programs that are being removed from our offerings: the Building Permit Reimbursement Assistance Program, the the Business Impact Financial Assistance Program, and the Residential Impact Financial Assistance Program. So those programs are no longer eligible. They have been removed from the CRE's webpage as being offered. My intention is to bring new programming to the board at the next meeting because there are line items in the budget that the board did approve that are directly tied to these three programs that total $50,000. So at the next CRA meeting, I will be bringing you new programs for you to determine. And part of that research, just so you know, we'll be talking to Garrett, as well as some of our fellow CRAs to see what other programs they have that have been successful that not only help eliminate slum and blight, but also helps on the economic development standpoint of recruiting new investment into the city. Any questions on that one?
Any questions?
Yeah, of the $50,000, how much has been spent?
Well, none of it's been spent this year because the budget was just adopted.
Okay, so the $50,000 is available to be used in other areas.
She's saying to be reallocated.
So like moving it to contingency.
About the new programs.
So at the next CRA meeting, I will bring potential programming and then you can make the decision of if that is the will of the board to go to contingency or to do other programming.
Okay. But I think she's going to come up with some programs.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
Would you like me to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next item is the CRA logo. So the previous or our current CRA logo is a bit antiquated. It's the wrought iron fence with the brick veneer pillars, and so this new logo adapts to our branding standards and provides a little bit more continuity with our existing logo. So the three that you see up top, where it has Apopka and community redevelopment spelled out, as well as the white background and the gold colored background circular logos are part of the new logo. So this is just for informational purposes, so the board is aware that we'll start using the new logo.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Uh, I understand the logo with the circles and the leaf. That's for letterhead and brochures. But the signage on the gate, um, I looked at, I managed 5 CRAs, and we never had Daytona Beach CRA, a community development agency, on the signs. I looked at Winter Park, they don't have it. Winter Garden, they don't have it. Eatonville doesn't have it. So one of the things I would recommend is in the wayfinding signs, you have a specific font that says Apopka. You have it on your logo. So to be consistent with that lettering, whatever entrance sign we come up with, at least the Apopka one should be consistent with the wayfinding signs.
As in the way the lettering. Okay, got you.
Right. Now,
That makes, yeah.
as far as the CRA is concerned, having done some of these, the word redevelopment carries a negative connotation. It, to the general public, it either the area is blight or has to be revitalized. So what you don't want is somebody that's coming into the corridor and see a redevelopment agency, whatever that means to them. So I would, and I think a few times at this meeting, I would recommend that if we're going to redo the development code relative to the CRA, then the development code should have a specific name, like, and I think I offered up the Apopka Village, because that becomes a destination point. Right now, the code is mixed use downtown. That's where all the codes lie: building heights, parking, etc. So, if there's going to be if we want to project a more positive image for the transient customers, not the locals, but the transient customers, in order to siphon them off the roadway into the businesses, they've got to have a perception that the minute they enter that roadway, they're going to have a positive image. Right now, if that sign was to be erected and they entered the corridor, they don't come across with a positive image. Like I say, this kind of looks, whatever adjective you want to use, and I'm going to drive them outdoor. So I don't have any problem with coming up with a new design for the gateway signs. I think that's what this is, the gateway signs.
Mhm.
As far as the other is concerned, I mean, when I looked at Winter Park, Winter Garden, even Daytona Beach, Eatonville, they use something similar, but it's for letterhead and those types of things, which is understandable. In other words, Mayor, I guess to put it shortly or bluntly, when you look at branding, and to a certain extent, this gateway sign is branding. What you don't want to do is come across with the concept that this is an institutional inertia disguised as progress. That's what you don't want.
Internet, any thoughts about?
Well, so at this point, this is simply about the logo for us
Yeah.
doing marketing paraphernalia. When and if the time comes that we are doing actual wayfinding signs or gateway signs, that would come back before the board anyway throughout the entire process, both in the conceptual design as well as updating the board on when they're ready for construction. So in reference to this brand, this is just simply for marketing. And then I'll also just add, because our CRAs have been under fire in the last few years or so. One of the things that we've talked about on a board level is really trying to market how important CRAs are to our communities. And part of that marketing means um, as much exposure to what CRAs are, educating the community on how they can help, and also really exposing some of the projects that CRAs are funding. So logos like this help kind of remind the public that yes, this is a CRA funded activity. Okay. The next item would be Resolution 2025-07, which is the adoption of the work plan in compliance with House Bill 7013. So I think this was adopted March or April of last year. It basically requires additional transparency for special districts, which I mentioned previously. So it talks about establishing a work plan and then reporting on performance metrics. In terms of what those metrics are, we can expect by the way I mean the board can agree on what those metrics are, and then we can report them every year. This is in December of every year, separate from the annual report that's required the end of March each year. So the categories are economic growth, community image and property improvements, public safety and community well-being, infrastructure and code compliance, public spaces and streetscapes, and transparency and accountability. So I have included the proposed performance metrics for this year, keeping in mind that the following year, the board can elect that they'd like to modify them if they so choose to do so. I've tied these performance metrics to the adopted budget, with the one exception, which is removing those 3 previous financial assistance programs that we spoke about. I also attempted in this to underpromise and hopefully overdeliver. So you'll see that, for example, it talked about in number 2 where it says enhance community image and property improvements. Under the targets, we have complete 20 residential projects, which, remember, we did the math on the rewrap and it's like 30 homes for $900,000. So that's why some of those numbers are the way they are.
Right. Do we need to have a motion from the
Correct.
board? Okay.
Mhm.
So
Mr. Chair?
first of all, yeah, questions.
On the second page of the resolution, it talks about the adopted date of 17th day of September 2025. Should it be today? If we're going to make a motion to approve or adopt the resolution?
Yes, you are correct. That was a previous date that we thought the CRA meeting was going to be on. So it should be effective today, November, whatever today is, November 2nd, 5th.
Yeah. Okay. So any other changes that the board would like to make? All right.
Mr. Chair,
Sure.
I move that.
Well, let me see if any public
okay.
comment on this.
Sorry.
Any public comment on the changes? If not, look for motion to approve.
All right, so what the motion, Mr. Mayor, is to amend resolution 2025-07 to replace the passed and adopted date with the 5th day of November 2026 and adopt the resolution
2025.
25.
Skipping a year.
2025. Yes, thank you.
Got a motion by,
Adopt the resolution.
got a motion by member Drago,
Second.
second by member Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay.
Did you get that, clerk? Okay.
Okay.
Good evening, members and chair. Bradley Williams, interim city administrator. The last item on the agenda is in regard to using some of the contingency funding to purchase playground equipment. The city was approached by the playground contract that we recently utilized for the Northwest Recreation Inclusive Playground Project with an opportunity at some playground equipment that was sitting in storage that was originally ordered by Disney. Now, this week staff did get some additional clarifications. The equipment was ordered by Disney, built, never installed and put in storage. Disney wanted to change the color, I guess, of the equipment that they ended up utilizing. The similar type of equipment was put on display at Disney this year, 2025, for the Garden Festival. The company is giving us the first shot if we would like to purchase this equipment. Here's the renderings of what the equipment looks like. It is at a reduced rate from what you would normally get for this type of equipment. At the council meeting, we did approve. Council did approve the piggyback agreement, the new piggyback agreement with Rep Services, which handles this equipment, and we did confirm that the quote that we received was in line with that new piggyback agreement. Bringing it forward, as I mentioned, because of the opportunity and prior discussions in reference to the 8th Street and Highland property that currently has an old maintenance facility on it. There was discussion at a prior CRA meeting about potentially replatting the property to include some low-income housing opportunities, and then the rear portion of the property, there was a stormwater ditch that the city did enclose with piping, so you can't really build on it as far as construction for houses, but it could be utilized for open space or a park playground. That's the concept that was presented at the CRA meeting. To highlight some additional information on the area, I did ask our GIS team to go ahead and pinpoint a map for us, highlighting the different park facilities that currently service the CRA area. So if we're looking at the map here, the light blue line is the CRA boundary. We have two what you'd classify neighborhood style parks, and up a little bit above, one of them kind of touches the CRA, would be two smaller pocket park style amenities. That's Lake Avenue Park and Dream Lake Park. Your pocket park radius is typically about a quarter mile from the park location as far as a service area, and your neighborhood park's more about half mile. And neighborhood park is going to have the amenities like parking and restrooms, because you will have people that drive to that location that might be a little bit outside that half mile radius. Your pocket park is really intended for that immediate neighborhood to have access to recreational facilities within walking distance. So highlighted that the CRA, the two neighborhood parks, Kateland Nelson Park and Alonzo Williams Park, and down in this section, just for reference, there's that area of the CRA does not currently reside in any of those circles. The one that is highlighted there is that 8th and Highland property. So I just to reference and illustrate what could happen there, that could go ahead and fill that area of the CRA with an outdoor recreation facility. Again, bring it to the board because the opportunity is brought to the city, and just look for further direction.
A few questions. When did the city enclose that land with plumbing? When was that done?
When was
The
it
plumbing?
closed? I think it was the end of 23.
23.
Maybe. Yeah, Vlad just left. 23, 24.
23, 24.
Yeah.
Okay. My next question is in regards to, and I understand that they have some furniture that they're trying to get rid of, but I don't really even understand what this is, and I just don't think, because we haven't even agreed what we're going to do with that land, with that particular land yet. So I think to buy or purchase something for it, and we haven't even decided on what we're going to do with it, I think that's just a little premature.
So since the opportunity came to us, I wanted to bring it to the board. This was something that was discussed in the past. This plat, the 8th Street plat, as an option. So again, the opportunity was there. Didn't want to have the opportunity to go by without the board having a chance to consider it if it was something you all are interested in.
Well, I had expressed that I wasn't really
I don't even know what
fond
this is.
of this.
What is this?
I don't.
We don't know what this. I don't even know what this is.
I don't know. I don't even know what it is.
Oh, yeah.
So
We
I,
don't-
and
we don't know what it is.
yeah, I mean, I don't have children enough to take them to this park, but I have no idea what it is.
Some sticks and some. I don't
I
know.
would say having kids that are old enough to go to a park, I would not let that. I don't know what this is
Bunch of
either.
sticks and
Okay.
And ropes, sticks and ropes.
tape, red tape. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's different style equipment than what you might see in your traditional park, but it was something that was displayed at Disney, and they did have people utilize it. They shared some videos with us of what that show looked like, and
So it was used or it wasn't used?
this equipment that they have was not used. What happened was Disney initially ordered it in 2022 and then wanted to change colors or change something on it, so they had to start over. So,
but they did have people. They built it. They had people on it at some.
They
point.
built it, yeah, and had people on it at Epcot this year.
So I would call that used.
No, not this equipment. Similar, the same style equipment.
When did you find out that information?
That was today. I think we finally got communication with them.
We just don't like. I don't know what this is.
Yeah, to the point that's been made, there's been no agreement that that's going to be a park, not a resounding yes to that. And so to spend on a jungle gym used or pre-built, I don't think makes sense at this point. And there's some extra money.
Do we know how much they asked them for this?
It was $187.
Well, that's all in. Is the number?
That's all in. It does need pour in place surface structure. That's all in.
So that what their actual cost is $54,500 approximately.
Say what now?
To buy
the
that equipment, that rope course is $54,500,
Sticks and ropes. Yeah. It's not that.
and then the total price to actually make it a park with whatever type of turf needs to go on it is $187,000. Is what I was provided yesterday.
Correct. The equipment cost was, with the engineering, was $56,569. The pour in place safety surface, because this is surface mounted, is $48,896, and then the installation was $82,000.
Wow.
All right, that looks like a.
We don't know what this is.
I got some groans up here. So I think that means no.
Confused on what it is.
Okay.
Again,
Thanks.
from the staff standpoint, an opportunity is brought forward.
Yes.
Wanted to bring it to the board.
Appreciate you.
Want to make sure opportunities are brought forward. So,
Good.
but
Okay.
I think we've got clear direction.
Yes. Yeah.
Can I ask when the demolition will take place on the buildings on 8th and Highland?
So we do have money, or there is money in the CRA budget to do that. We are working with our facilities maintenance administrator to try and get some quotes. The size of it, we might have to go ahead and bid that out separately because likely, I think we budgeted $100,000.
Right.
It's likely going to be over our $50,000 threshold. So we're exploring either using a piggyback contractor, we can find one, or we'll have to bid that out separate.
Can we use our GCs that we approved?
Facility improvement. Demo might be
We probably could do it.
part of that.
Let's look into it.
Well, you can have a city bulldozer just.
And you think it costs more than $50,000 just tear down that barn?
There's a lot of concrete and asphalt in that property. I mean, majority of that property is the asphalt, concrete, like a block building.
So they're going to remove all that.
Rip all that out, and then we have to restore it and put sod down at least for the time being.
What are the concrete structures that are outside the fence? It's like a round concave, like a
I'll have
drainage
to-
pipe or something.
Is it a drainage pipe?
I guess that's what
I think that was
That's
left
the
over
drainage
from
easement in there.
from what
that
we
was
did.
left over when they filled in the ditch.
Yes.
Oh, well, that needs to be moved, so we'll get that.
Well, it's been sitting there for a year.
Yeah, that shouldn't be there.
They
Okay.
didn't have any fuel tanks on the site, did it?
Oh yeah, we did.
I think it was a streets maintenance
Yeah. Yeah.
store, so we'll have to prepare it out and probably do an environmental on it
Okay.
when we're done.
In case you have to put in monitoring wells.
All right.
All right.
Last up, Antoinette, you're gonna bring up the one issue.
Good evening. We have one more item on the agenda that is not on the one that was printed out because it just came up after the agenda was released. But we do have, I'm sorry, I can't see. We do have the owners from the Seaboard Station as well as True Coffee. They were applicants as far for the FURRAP program, the Facade Renovation Assistance Program, in order to build a fence that went across both properties. So under the True Coffee, they received their grant agreement. It was executed. They did the work, and they were reimbursed $7,670.46. However, when they requested reimbursement for the Seaboard Station, which was supposed to be for $15,000, while they did receive the award, the grant agreement was sent over and it was not executed. And because the grant agreement was not executed, no notice to proceed was issued. And because a notice to proceed was not issued, then that means the work was done outside of compliance with the grant program as it currently reads. So I did notify the applicants that unfortunately our policy clearly states, and it states in the application that they signed as well as in the grant agreement, that work is not to proceed until they get the notice to proceed, that they were not eligible to receive the $15,000 reimbursement. They have requested to come before the CRA board to request a reconsideration. So they are here if you'd like to ask them any questions.
Did you send over the agreement?
I did.
She
Mhm.
did.
Oh, I didn't see it.
And so now, Cliff, I mean, are you comfortable with us retroactively?
Uh, Comfort is an interesting position for a city attorney to comment on, but I will simply say that this is an item where you have discretion, but there are things that would definitely uh, cause you or should cause you to use caution about whether you want to grant it. Because when you set forth, as you have, grant requirements and that require compliance, and then after someone who is clearly, for whatever reason, I don't know, they may have good reasons, not met those requirements, you're opening the door to seeing a lot more of these. So that's my
said at
caution.
the agenda review. And that I expressed that at the agenda review, that I understand that they missed doing one step, but as soon as we say okay under the circumstances,
Open up
it
Pandora's
opens up the
box.
door for others
Right.
who will come before us and say, you did it for them. We, for whatever the reason was that they didn't follow through. So, I did say, let's consult with the
Mhm.
attorney, but he expressed the same feeling that I did at the agenda review.
Right. I will say, as the newest person here coming in, I have to follow the breadcrumbs of my predecessor as well as the policies that have already been set in place. So any applicant that comes in, the first thing I'm looking at is what is the CRA's current policy that is set in. So based on the way our policy reads, it says that both in the application as well as in the agreement, that work is not to proceed without a notice, without the official notice to proceed from the city. I did verify that the notice proceed was not issued. I also verified that the grant agreement was sent over. And the applicant did confirm that yes, they did receive the grant agreement, and unfortunately, it was an oversight on their part that they did not execute it.
I mean, I don't know if y'all want to come up. I mean, if anything that is, you could say it's contrary to what's just been brought up. I mean, we want to help you. I just, like a couple of the members have said, it's a, as we open up Pandora's box for somebody that legitimately, maybe misunderstood whatever, but clearly it states that you didn't meet the spirit of not the spirit, the letter of the law,
Right.
and maybe the spirit you did, but not the letter. So
Yeah. Thank you for your time, for hearing us out. Thank you for letting us be here today. Nothing contrary. What she said is exactly what it was. In the process, we were purchasing the Seaboard and the coffee shop 66 and 36 for Matt Jordan. And in all of that, we were also working with someone that was kind of coaching us through grants. So in between working the coffee shop, it went through our hands, our person that was trying to help us, and Matt and everybody. And we got a notice of, I guess, commencement. Is that what it's called, to proceed with the work for 66? And I think in the excitement of shuffling papers and emails between 18 different people, it was just one thing that was missed on our end. We borrowed the money to do that fence project, which it's been amazing. Thank you all for the grant for 66. It beautified the property, and it stopped a lot of the issues from people showering in water hoses during business hours and all the interesting things that can happen in a downtown area. It has helped us out tremendously. The $15,000 grant, it's really hard on us as new business owners. My brother and I are the sole proprietors of the business, and almost 10 months in, we're finally kind of breaking even. Took the step to hire an employee, and we're there. For us not to receive this grant, it is a really big deal to us. We know that you all are not obligated to fund the grant at all. The reason I'm here is not to give you a sob story, but to ask if there's a consideration retroactively, or if not, is there a solution that we could find creatively to maybe not get us in trouble, get you in trouble, and us still be able to be funded as a new business. If we weren't granted the money, or if we weren't considered for the grant, we wouldn't put the fence in. The building needs a roof. It needs all kinds of things. It's old. It's from the 50s. We're open to anything. I'm just thankful to be here, and any comment you might have would be appreciated.
I think it goes back to Cliff. What creative things do you think we can do? Or Antoinette, have you got any ideas that we can?
The problem is that all of our grants, every one of them, is for payment when work is completed, but only when it's authorized. So the payment after the fact is not the problem; it's that it wasn't authorized, and that creates the open door of, hey, I did great work on my own place in the CRA without realizing y'all had a program. So can't you retroact? And now I'm going to go broke. Can't you retroactively give me the money? I'm not going to tell you that's exactly what happened here, but the analogy is applicable. And so at the end of the day, I want to emphasize this is your call, and I don't have any stake in it one way or the other, but I'm just bringing it up to you because we set these guidelines in place and these rules in place. So this doesn't have to come to you. And so Ms. Forbes or whoever is going to be in that chair has the ability to say yep or no. And it doesn't come back here and add to your meetings or whatever because it's very clear. And while I think it'd be cruel of me or anyone else to not feel sympathy, that's not where it's at. And legally speaking, it's your discretion. So,
Antoinette, anything else? I mean, maybe if we can't do this one, is there something else we could help them with?
You said some other things that
Some other things that we could, I know you want to get funded for the fence. I get it, but if we can't do that, is there some other things we can do that will offset?
So here's the problem. The problem is that they have maxed out the amount of award they can receive under our current grant programs because it was already 2 buildings. And I believe the max you can receive is 5,000 per facade, max 10,000. Okay. And that does not include the 25% contribution that the property owner also has to make to it. So in reference to the True Coffee, they've already maxed out what they can receive. In reference to the Seaboard Station, if there were other improvements that they were going to do, yes, but it's my understanding, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that already financially it's a bit tight in the work they've already done prior to investing additional money into the building. However, that being said, I am looking at other alternative incentive programs, which I intend to bring back before the board. And they are not the only applicant I've had conversations with about we're looking into other programs. I very intentionally have not discussed what those programs are with any of the applicants because the board needs to review it and approve it first. But I am perfectly willing to have conversations about what would be helpful, what they'd like to see and get assistance with, So that can also help me formulate new programming.
And so like electrical upgrades would be one that, you know,
Right. For example, and not necessarily in this case, but
yeah,
what about there were demolition grants that we offered for dilapidated structures that code has went by and cited several times, and for whatever reason it's not been taken care of. That is something we could help with. I believe I mentioned to Board Member Velasquez about storefront covers for storefronts that are vacant for extended period of time, and then it starts to present a certain look to the area that it's been empty for a long time. That's something that the CRA could help with. So there's lots of different programming that we could potentially do. We could also look at, and by we I mean you all could look at special projects. Those are larger projects. If you're looking to really recruit, maybe there's certain target industries, and now you're willing to increase the amount of funding in order to offset the developer's costs. That the but-for clause, in other words, this project would not occur if it was not for this
well,
additional
and
incentive.
this building is unique and it is
That is something.
historical. So, I mean, I think there is a real opportunity there to help. I mean, I don't know how we help him with his 15 grand, but I think, you know,
Right.
hopefully we can figure out, you know, and unfortunately, just see how we get there. But I think if we can help, you know, tailor a program, especially because of his historical significance, I mean, it would be,
Mhm.
I think in the city's best interest to help somebody with a building like that one.
Well, what if we take this out of kind of the CRA context itself? Because again, and I appreciate you guys just acknowledging, hey, we messed up, it's there. But also, as city civic leaders and as economic development director, we want new businesses. We don't want any disincentive to come here.
Right.
So how do we fix not having just a signature? So is there something within your budget through economic development, not the CRA, that we can contribute to small businesses that are going through a tough time that need a little help right now?
All right. I'm only smiling because I have almost no budget. There's like nothing
Well, what's
in
great, you have
economic
some
development.
leaders up here that can move some money around as needed for a bigger budget for your
You heard that?
department.
Right.
So I think again that's looking at this kind of more broad as well. We don't want to disincentive any kind of disincentive to come to our city. That's what we've talked for hours about so far today. So again, it's a screw up. We get it, but at the same time, can we take a step back out of CRA, realize again this is economic development, this is impact, and the dollars that were promised they need to then multiply within our city as well and create more opportunity within our city. So I don't know if that's something we can look at. Yes, attorney.
This is not a notice council meeting, and any discussion further on things that aren't CRA should happen at a council meeting.
Got it. Understood. Thank you. Appreciate that. We can talk offline though, and some additional opportunities there.
So from what I'm hearing, I will continue conversations with the applicants about other potential programming and also additional potential scopes of work that could be done in their building. And then I will also talk with staff internally about some alternative solutions.
Perfect. Yeah.
All right. Antoinette, thank you for all your help. Appreciate your. Okay, with that, I think we're anybody. Oh, Drago.
Two things. The former economic development director started a program like economic gardening. Is that program still functioning?
I am unfamiliar with the economic gardening program that Apopka has or had. I have not seen anything on that.
It's a database program that she developed.
Is it the property database? Is that what you're referring to?
Property, no, it's more, well, it could be property based, but that's more of a database relative to employment opportunities for the private sector to hire.
I have not seen anything on that.
Okay. And
Is
the
that
other one
something that-
is several meetings ago, a real estate person came up here and offered some property near the museum. And we deferred it to you to evaluate. So do you have anything on that?
Talking about the Cobb property.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I heard the chair said it was near the
That's it.
museum and it could
Cobb,
be
Cobb
used as
property.
okay, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I don't have any additional information on that right now.
I thought we had discussed that it was just nobody was really interested in it. I thought was the kind of sentiment. I could be wrong. but I thought it was a sentiment that the board just didn't have a huge interest in it.
No, the charge was for the new economic development director to evaluate the property to see what benefits it would serve the city if we were to buy it. And the chair said, well, we could use it to increase the parking for the museum,
Exactly.
but we haven't heard the evaluation.
So I'll get with you, Antoinette, show you the property, and then we'll reach out to it's been for sale for years and years.
Okay.
But yeah. So we'll get okay. Any final thoughts from anybody?
No, thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Okay.